Hello and welcome back to Book Yaps with Ash. I am Ash, here with another desk video at my desk. And I read 10 books in January 2026. And the reason for that is because I worked 9 days. So if we could replicate or figure out how I can continue working 40% of the time but making 100% of my salary, let's do that. Let's figure that out, because my reading, I did a lot of that. So yeah, this is my January book wrap video. I read 10 books. I'm not going to talk about all 10 books in this video because I have other videos that are out, that are planned. So here are all the books I read. So a couple of novellas at the beginning of the year. I talked about all of those in a novella video that's somewhere around here, so you can go check that out if you want to hear about those novellas. I read Gate of the Feral Gods, the 4th Dungeon Crawler Carl book, which has a whole ass reading vlog, so you can go check that out. I read almost all of the rest of the Game Changers series. I'm finishing up the long game right now, and I'm gonna make a whole ass video about those books for anybody who is considering reading them, which, spoiler alert, I recommend, but I'm gonna do a whole video about that. And I also read The World According to Garp, which again has its own reading vlog. Part 1 is out now. Part 2 is not out. There is a part 2, but it's coming. So those are, they already have their own day in the sun. My battery is already gonna die, so fucking hold on. So anyways, that leaves 4 books that aren't gonna have their own little day in the sun, their own little video that I want to talk to you about that I read in January. So let's get the heck into it. Intro. Book Yaps with Ash. Do you guys think I should make a new intro? I kind of made that intro like on a whim, and I don't know where the whispering actually came from. It just, I just felt like it worked. Maybe it doesn't work at all. If that's true, someone tell me. I'll make a new one. Maybe. Okay, anyways. So let's talk. Let's talk about the books that I want to talk about. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is one I didn't finish. One I was excited to read. One that I've had for a long time, that I had hoped to read last year and didn't read because it's so big and intimidating, and I thought I could do it. And I could have. It has nothing to do with my skills. But that is Our Share of Night. If you don't know, this is translated horror. The author is from Argentina, and it is this big, chunky, atmospheric story of a cult called the Order, essentially. And we're following a handful of characters, mostly Juan and his son Gaspar, who are part of this cult. But Juan is essentially this medium who can speak to the darkness and pull power, I think, from said darkness. So they hold these ceremonies, there are sacrifices, and he is controlled by this darkness. And I read almost 400 pages of this book and then did not finish it, and that hurts. I was putting in the time, I was putting in the work. I'm not sure if you can see, if it will focus. All of these are pages that I've underlined because of quotes, because of plot, because I was trying to know what's going on. And the problem I had with this book, the writing is great. It's scary in a less intense way. It's just very creepy. It kind of makes you feel like you're surrounded in this creepiness, this darkness. But it's also just normal. These people just go on with their lives, but are also part of this cult. The problem I had with the book, 588 pages, 6 chapters. 600 pages and 6 chapters. And a couple of the chapters are 2 pages or something. So we are talking 100+ page chapters. And there are page breaks for sure. Not a lot of them, but I don't know. That makes it hard to get through. On top of that, this is slow. It's not fast paced at all. Very slow, very descriptive, lots of stuff going on that may or may not be relevant. I don't know. But to me, the combo of slow-paced, long chapters, and long book made me not reach for this. Now listen, the characters, Gaspar specifically, I did really care about. I really wanted to know what was happening, what was going on. However, I found myself falling asleep a few times reading this. Now I was recovering from surgery, so could be a little bit of both reasons there, but it was that, but then it was also just I didn't want to pick it up. I found myself looking at my bookshelf and being like, oh man, I can't wait to read those other books when I'm done this one, and then having 200 pages left. So I just stopped. Reading it. And I also started 4 other books while reading this and started 5 other books while reading this and finished 4 of them. Some were audio, some were physical. So there's a difference there, but I want to know how it ends. So if anyone reads this and can just tell me in your own words in one paragraph how it ends, what happens to my pal Gaspar, that would be great, because I just couldn't commit to that many more pages of it. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with the book itself. I think it's a great piece of literature. I really actually loved how descriptive they were with pain and migraines. There was good migraine representation in this book. Love that. But yeah, I think there's just that combination of slow plus long chapters plus long book made me struggle with it. So that's Our Share of Night. If you've read this, if you're going to read it, let me know what happens, please, because I want to know. Life's short, I guess. So that's that. Boom. Next, this is a book. While I was reading Our Share of Night, I said, this is so slow. I need something fast-paced. I need me a thriller. I need me a classic thriller. And so, I read my first ever Frida McFadden book that I just happened to have on my shelf that Storm read and said was really good. So I read The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. And this is good. This is everything you want in a thriller. If you're looking for something fast-paced, if you're looking for something where you're finding the clues and trying to figure out what happened and want to be kept on your toes and a little bit of twists here and there. There you go. I get the Frida McFadden hype now. I wasn't going to see The Housemaid because Sydney Sweeney... The hell... Anyways, I wasn't going to see it. But then I read this and I was like, I bet that will be fun. And I'm going on a tangent here, but the first half of that movie sucked. I was like, this is horrible. And then it was better. Okay. But anyways, this book is about a surgeon whose father, when she was a kid, was arrested because it turns out he was a serial killer. Kidnapping girls, murdering them, cutting them up, and keeping their one hand. And the book flips back and forth between her as an adult, as a surgeon, and her as a child, kind of experiencing her life, living with her father before he is found out. And what starts happening is essentially there's a copycat killer around. Her father is very much in jail, hasn't escaped jail, but the same kind of murders are happening. Women, brown hair, blue eyes, cut off hand. So people start assuming that she is killing them. And yeah, it's a first person POV, so we're not too sure. Is this an unreliable narrator? Is she innocent? What's going on? I read this in one day. So if you're looking for something to eat up, a fun little thriller moment, a fast-paced moment, yeah, definitely do that. I get it. I get the Frida McFadden hype. I think I will continue to read more of her books. I'm still pro Lisa Jewell is better. Okay? Frida McFadden's getting all the whatever now. If you like Frida McFadden, please look into Lisa Jewell. So that's this one. Next, I also started this book when reading Our Share of Night, and then that's when I decided I wasn't reading Our Share of Night anymore at that point. But this is when Haru was here. This is YA. It's been a while since I've read a YA, and I've continued to age. So I think the more I age, the younger this feels, naturally, of course. But this is about Eric, and he has just experienced the loss of his best friend, whom he was also in love with. He dies suddenly. They're very young. They're 18, 19 years old when his best friend dies, and he is grieving that loss. But then he sees this boy, this man, who he met in Japan and lost touch with, and he sees him in a coffee shop a year or so later, and nobody else can see him. And so what this book really is about is how this young person is dealing with his grief. He, to me, was kind of, he was making reckless choices, maybe choices that were kind of self-sabotaging, but it's important to remember that he was 19 years old, grieving a big loss, and kind of not letting anyone in, not letting anyone help him. This book, I thought, it might make me cry. There was a hint to, it might make me cry. And I got about maybe 75% through, and I was like, maybe not. Maybe it won't. And then there was a chapter near the end where I had to look up from the chapter, because if I didn't, I would cry, and it was like 8:20 and I work at 8:30, and I was like, can't start my day like this. I thought this was a really good story about grief, about love and loss. And yeah, it is YA, so you're gonna find there's younger characters, there's just, a youthful narrative from our main POV, but still, a really, really good story about grief. So if you want to be sad, but not too sad, and not sad for long, there you go. There's the one for you. Number 4, the last one I want to talk to you about, and definitely my favorite out of this stack. Not sure if it was my favorite of the month, but there was a lot of different stuff in there, so it's kind of hard to pick a favorite. But that is Wreck by Catherine Newman, and it is the sequel to Sandwich by Catherine Newman, obviously. Look at these. These are such nice covers. You put them together like that. That's lovely. Okay, so Wreck, if you've read Sandwich, it picks up a couple years, I think, after Sandwich, and we're just following the same family. We're following Rocky, our main POV, first-person POV, as she navigates basically 2 things that happen that feel really big and feel like she feels like they've derailed her life. These 2 kind of events that have happened to her. One of them is navigating kind of this health mystery. She's not sure what's going on. And the other is just kind of an event that happens in the community that she feels connected to, her adult kids feel connected to. So she's navigating these 2 things that she feels like kind of derailed her life. And it's not much more than that. It's very similar to Sandwich, where there's not a lot of plot. It's very character driven. And I'm obsessed with this character of Rocky. I'm obsessed with Catherine Newman's writing. I feel like her writing is warm. It's sunshine. Even when it's sad, it feels like a hug. And I was lucky enough to get to listen to Catherine Newman talk as part of my book club, and she talked about Sandwich, and she puts herself into these characters, like specifically Rocky. All of her humor is embedded in these books, and yeah, I think hearing her talk made these better books for me. They weren't bad at all, but I think getting to see the person behind the pencil, she probably didn't handwrite it with pencil, but it just brings more life to the story. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm not sure if you can tell here, but there are lots of folded down pages with underlined quotes that are just fantastic. Some that were funny, some that were like, wow, you know, that hit you right in the gut. Like this one, I don't know why all our tender feelings have to masquerade as news. Because she's talking about how, like, her mom would say something that happened in the news and then use that as, like, an entry into talking about something important or whatever. But something else I really liked about this one is actually her navigation of the health system and the health mystery. I had a similar experience last year. I'm not in my 50s experiencing what she was experiencing, but I went through like a similar trajectory of medical testing without getting answers. So this felt like very relatable in that way, and it was kind of nice to read about that and feel seen or heard or whatever. Yeah, I also just love the family dynamic in this book. Rocky is not perfect by any means. She knows she's not perfect by any means, but she also just is like bursting with love for her family, for her kids, for her parents, and you can really feel that when you are reading both of these books, actually. So yeah, I love this. I think I want to read more Catherine Newman books. And a fun fact about this book is that she said she wasn't actually intending to write a sequel. She was just writing another story with like placeholder names, but it ended up having very similar characters. Like, you know, the main POV was the mom, and then there was the dad, then there was the 2 adult children, and then she realized she was just actually writing a sequel and just gave them their names that were from the first book, and that's how this came to be. So that's more, you know. I loved this. If you like books that are character driven, not a lot of plot, but also feel like they're talking about so much at the same time, these ones are for you. So yeah. Haven, come here. So those are 4 of the 10 books I read in January that I wanted to chat with you about, that I wanted to yap to you about. Yeah, that's it. Let me know what you read in January, what your favorite book of January was, what your least favorite book of January was. Did you DNF any books? Let me know what they were and why. And you don't have to have a valid reason at all. Just say you weren't vibing with it, and that's fine with me. So that's that on that, and I hope that you get a cup of tea soon and you don't burn your tongue. See you next time on Books, Yaps, Miss Ash. Tell me what you want to say. Say something. Tell me. You were just yelling at me. You don't want to yell anymore? Maybe you were just yelling at me to get out of your chair. Well, enjoy, I guess.